Okie dokie, so here we go. Welcome to my first cast of Company of Heroes 2. We have Oziligath down here in the southwest corner as the Wehrmacht. And Old Mate in the north on Langriskaya with the good old Soviets. I just picked that up on Coh2 replays and they had me at Partisans. So apparently there's some good partisan action going on in this game. But essentially, just welcome to the first episode. I have no idea how I'm gonna call this bit yet. I'm looking kind of for a Taylor pun. Something along the kind of trench cast for trench coat. But that just sounds like I'm sitting in some ditch in France. So probably not that. So if you have any ideas, please let me know. Nothing too out of the ordinary for the start from both of our players. We just go standard conscripts. Standard MG. Actually, hang on, I say that. Double MG into double pioneers, and he immediately proves me wrong. As soon as I said that. So that's interesting, because that usually means he's gonna try out to block everything, these approaches here to his base sectors. And it's gonna play very defensive games. The pioneers with their excellent sight range, as you will see here, compared to our conscripts over here, will help the MGs to perform at the maximum range. They will have trouble getting them out of buildings though, and if they get flanked in the early game, they're kinda dead on impact, but so far it seems to be a very passive game. Both these players in the top 100, which is why also a reason why I picked this game. I am hoping for a decent competitive match. And sadly no barbed wire here yet. Generally what you see players do, the better they are, when they cap this point, they barbed wire the far side of these corner points off here. And that basically prevents your enemy to taking advantage of that. If you have never seen a match of Coh2, so what the hell are you looking at? So this is a real-time strategy game. It is squad based, that means that every unit you build has multiple unit models in them. And it has a lot of neat mechanics. For example, as you can see here, these guys build some sandbags. They have now this green shield of cover bonus, which means they take, I believe, 50% reduced accuracy and damage. So they are harder to received accuracy means they're harder to hit. And garrisons also provide a green shield, but I think that's slightly better. It's like 60% damage reduction. Which usually comes in handy because you only have 4 windows here, so only 4 of the models actually shoot back at those pioneers, which meant that they were holding on quite well here. There's also some neat little mechanics like suppression, as you saw here. The little exclamation mark means these guys will basically stop to a crawl, have reduced ability ranges, and just in general do less damage. And for example, cover stops them from being suppressed quite as quickly. Only 3 conscripts so far, double engineer. Nice pop off the flamethrower, which does increase damage to units in cover. Yeah, some good model drops here. So basically how the game works, you have your standard resources here at the bottom. Every player gets a standard amount of, I think it's 300 base of manpower, which you need for any kind of call-in onto the field. Like this beautiful 250 half-track here. The half-track also costs fuel, which is another resource, generally reserved for vehicles. Either call-ins or from your tech buildings. And yeah, also for upgrades like here this Kampfgruppe 1. Battle Phase 1, sorry, Kampfgruppe would be the building. And got some Panzer Grenadiers, some elite infantry. That will definitely put quite a lot of hurt on these Grenadiers. Very nice push with the flamethrower half-track. Pushes them out of cover. No model drop yet, but they're clumped up. And flamethrowers do AoE damage. But kinda lucky to get out of there with only 1 model lost. Does he have healing? Nope, but it's coming up. So essentially how the health bar works on these units. Every single unit model is calculated separately. So it's sometimes hard to gauge when they drop. But as the value decreases, the more likely it is to drop. But you also might be on a very high health, but if one unit takes all the shots, it just kind of drops instantly. So pretty good start from Oziligath here with a quite unconventional build. At least I haven't seen it quite as often. Seems to be able to hold on to his cutoffs and to anything else. Yeah, where was I? I was explaining the game mechanics. So basically you also have the munitions resource. Munitions and fuel are gathered by capping these all these points across the map. Which I can show you on this tactical map. It's a bit easier to see. And the way this works is all of these territories have to be connected to your base territory. So you gain this fuel and munitions value on these standard territory points. And there's bigger munitions points and fuel points that take longer to capture, but they provide a bigger bonus for a single resource. And some maps have these kind of cutoffs. So for example, if you see here, this territory point actually goes along all the way across here, which would mean if it gets captured by our Austria player, it would cut off all of these resources from accumulating value. The Panzer Grenadiers and the 251 were pushed off here by a nice push with conscripts. We also will have AT grenades researched, yes indeed. As you can see, 25 munitions. And they're very, very important to keep track of your resources, because sometimes you try to use this URA ability, which makes your conscript sprint to catch a vehicle, and then you end up with not enough munitions to actually throw the AT grenade, and you just get blasted in the face. So we have a mortar built against the double MGs. Now that's very interesting. So we have double Pioneers and double MGs with double Panzer Grenadiers, so a man of doubles, Oziligath. I'm sorry for that butchering of your name. But basically what that means, none of these units have a snare like these conscripts.
New units are ready to deploy.
So what could happen if Old Mate here will rush a T-70 and that thing could just go ham with no repercussions asked. There's nothing he can do unless he gets Panzer Shreks, which I assume is the plan. But they are quite expensive, so there's, I believe, one... Oh no, it's actually just 100 munitions. I used to think there was 120, but I think they patched that down a while ago. So it's a bit more than a minute left for him to grab those. And Old Mate has teched up already, but a T-70 would be 70 fuel, so he still has a little bit of time. One interesting aspect of this game is also the manpower value I mentioned earlier. This is not affected in Coh2 by these territory points, but it is affected by your population cap. So essentially the more units you build, the fewer manpower or less manpower. Someone correct me on that. You can accumulate per minute, so all these values are calculated per minute. And that is basically a comeback mechanic. If you lose more units than your enemy is basically in a better position. But it also means that you accumulate more manpower and can get your units out more quickly again. Ooh, Soviet mine here. Yes, indeed. But he just about avoids that. So as I mentioned, I'm very happy to see some partisan action, so I'm really curious where this is going. Because I have tried to make them work and I cannot, but these guys are probably much better than I am. So far so good for these boys. The fun thing about partisans is you can spawn them from buildings, from these ambient buildings. So you can pop them in behind enemy lines to get like a good flank on an MG or finish off this 251. But they are also fairly expensive to call in, I think. Yeah, it's 270 for the anti-tank version and 210 for the anti-infantry version, but oh wow. 8 population cap for the partisan tank hunters with only 1 Panzer Shrek. So that is pretty costly. But they also can camouflage as long as they're in cover, hold fire and throw their little anti-tank grenades, just like the Soviets. I do have to check how they compare in terms of reinforcement costs. Rule of thumb is the more expensive your infantry unit is, the more expensive it is to reinforce them. Reinforcing meaning replacing lost units. Pretty good positioning now here from Old Mate. Bit of a wet noodle contest on this very long range here. Panzer Grenadiers not the best at super long range, but they are in heavy cover, so... But really nice move here. Uses the Panzerschreck to blow up the sandbags for the... against the Grenadiers, which now means they are not in cover, so the conscripts will most likely use the, win that fight at that range. Good MG positioning. Now this is always risky because you have to kind of get in close with your flamethrower to actually use the flamethrower. So looks like he's just gonna keep firing, keep them suppressed, do some damage, and then chase them back to base. Alas, here comes our little boy T-70, and there's nothing to stop him. I haven't seen a Telemine yet. That is usually not the spot you would see it. Partisans also on the hunt. So I think that T-50 just yeet his last tar. Oh, there was a Pioneer stuck in the sights there. Poor soul. Partisans get the kill. I actually wonder what their veterancy bonus is. So another big thing about this game is unit retention. That basically, as opposed to other games like StarCraft 2, for example, where the gameplay mostly consists of you building your army and then suicide squadding them into the enemy's base, you actually do want to keep them alive in this one, because your units can accumulate veterancy, which you can see here. It's this little yellow bar, and every star they get different abilities or combat bonuses. Soviets in general usually get abilities at that one, especially tanks. Excuse me. But they do become monsters later on. So making risky plays in the backline of your enemy can pay off, but if you don't kill them and they wipe you on the retreat, you will run into trouble. Because whoever keeps his units alive the most will have the more effective squads, so they can do things normal squads can't do. Oh, and we have German infantry here chosen for Oziligath, which you already will have noticed because of the 251 half-track. An early Ostwind, now that's interesting. Also not a unit you see that all too often these days. Especially not at the starter. You generally want a Panzer IV for anti-infantry duty and anti-tank duty more prominently. But against the T-70 it will do fine, and against all these infantry units it will do an excellent job. But should Old Mate be able to get a T-34 out, which he's just taking up for now, which means he had to spend the fuel he had in the bank for this building, so it's gonna take him a while to actually accumulate the fuel for the vehicle. But the Ziska, between the Ziskan that just entered the field and these partisans, it's gonna be tough for him to keep that Ostwind at bay as long as Oziligath plays conservative with it. Ooh! The shot from the T-70 made the soldier AI move a little bit to the side into the mine. But that could have easily been a wipe. That was very dangerous, which is why he's rushing the Ostwind here to save him. Conscript's pretty low. Yeah, decide to retreat there. The way AT grenades generally work in this game, for example this RPG tank grenade or the Panzerfaust of the Austrian Grenadiers, which we sadly do not have an example of at the moment. The way they work is if this, if the vehicle falls below, I believe the 75% health threshold, it will incur an engine damage, which basically just slows the vehicle down and gives your AT gun more time to fire, and makes it much less likely to dive into your backline. Because a single AT gun can still get circled by an Ostwind and basically taken out that way. But AT grenades do stop that from being too effective. And really nice use of the smoke here to block off the line of sight from the MG, so his conscript could move up. Ooh, we have some stormtroopers in ambush position holding fire. Nice to see. Oh, will they get spotted by the T-70? So that MG has to retreat or die. Yeah, two beautiful shots just right in the middle of the clump. Very lucky with the stormtroopers. That MG is most likely history. Yes, it is. Okay, good. He did open up, but he didn't do it early enough. The way they have an ability if they open up from ambush, I believe. I believe it applies to stormtroopers as well.
our territory.
Oh, my game just lagged a bit. There we go. The way that works, if they if they start firing while they're camouflaged, they will get an accuracy bonus and I think also a damage bonus for a short while. But if you get rid of the hold fire too late, while you're already spotted, you will not get that bonus. So you have to be very aware of your unit positioning. And if you forget about it, it's even worse because they will not fire back if they are shot at. Some S-mines here to protect the strategic point from infantry, which you could technically just drive over with a T-70 to get rid of those. Or send his minesweepers, who are currently building some mines on the left flank. Always nice to see. Active mine laying. Pretty forward repairs, but should be fine for now. Didn't get spotted there. Taking advantage. I'm gonna use this camera angle for now because there's a lot going on here on long ranges. And on this map it's pretty hard to keep track of it all. Okay, Panzer Grenadiers just get out of line of sight. Ooh, and they're starting to get really dangerous. Just squad survivability generally translates into less received accuracy, but they also get an accuracy bonus. Ooh, and very nice. Drove the Austrian forward into the prepared position of Old Mate. And the partisans got the anti-tank grenade off, which slowed it down, kept it in the cone of fire of the AT gun, and the T-70 for good measure went around for the back armor. And I'm not entirely sure who actually got the kill there. Was it? Okay, it wasn't you. It seems to be the Zis, unless... Yeah, I must have been the Zis. Because the 251 went down to the partisans. Ooh, stormtroopers just about skirted the mine here. If you hear an explosion, it's most likely them going down. And you can always keep track of the units I'm currently not looking at in the top corner of the map. We have some very heavy infantry builds from both players. But both seem to be pretty good at retaining their models as far as possible. Ooh, speaking of which though, this is very clumped up. Oh, the mortar straight up hit. That was ever so lucky. Against the Vet 2, yeah, it does get veterans accuracy at Vet 2 and rate of fire, so that was actually very, very lucky for Oziligath. Which I guess is a pun on Oziligath. But since it is not spelled that way, we shall pronounce him in the weird way. Some nice Molotovs forcing off the MG. Molotovs are damage over time ability, as you can imagine, burning would be. Doesn't do too much damage on impact, though does do a little bit of extra damage. Ooh, okay, this time he got it off, but there was just way too much volume of fire there. And he activated the tactical advance. That slows him down. It gives him a massive damage boost. But it also slows the unit down even when you hit that retreat button to get back to base. And I was actually pretty lucky that he did not get killed off there. Nice MG positioning, just about managed to suppress the conscripts there. Yeah, Panzer Grenadiers are just stalling in the building, trying to keep everything away as long as possible. And the Stuggy, the Dangeschütz, coming in to deal with the T-70. Nice attack round attempt, but T-70 already moved forward. Goes back in with the T-70, very brave. Probably a misclick there. But we've lost something. I do believe that was a squad here on retreat. Was it? I think it must have been one of the conscripts. We are down to 2 now. Yeah, oops. These Panzer Grenadiers are just getting hammered by the T-70. So the Stug E needs to have really good positioning to stop that from happening, because Panzer Grenadiers are expensive to reinforce. Ooh, drives a bit forward with the Stug. Gets one shot off. Will he get the second one off? Nope, doesn't try the ground attack. And ooh, flamethrower managed to get in close. But MG decided that the better part of Weller is a retreat. Ooh, T-34. Good timing there. Knew that the Stug E was low on health and okay. But apparently he expected him to drive along this way. Just set up the move order and kind of forgot about it. Ooh, will the Pioneer go down? Pioneer still alive. Check on that on the top hand corner. While we check out what's going here. Oh, Panzer Grenadier, so much carnage. Panzer Grenadier goes down to this 7. Always a big loss. trying to vet these bad boys up again is always a big pain. Pioneer did manage to get home, so small blessings there. So here comes the Panzer IV, so very heavy support armor play, which I do like. It's always nice to see not relying on the heavies, which he cannot do in the command in the first place, but a later tech up would be nice if you can retain these two vehicles, play around them, keep them alive, and then tech up. Second T-34 in the build. Good choice against the T4, and also T-34 76 is one of my favorite changes in the game, because they used to be so useless for the majority of Coh2's life skip ban. Was when they basically have I think 3 MG or at least 1 MG in the hull and 1 on the turret, and those do pretty good damage nowadays against infantry. So you do not have to rely on that main gun of his, which is not the best, but it's not the worst either these days. So in combination with the cheapness of 90 fuel compared to the 120 fuel of a Panzer IV, it's always pretty cost effective against Panzer IVs, though it will in a straight up 1v1 it will lose in general. Not always, because there's a lot of RNG in this game, which is why we love it and why we hate it. So essentially every shot of every unit is calculated separately, and even if, for example, there's a separate value for hitting the squad, for the splash damage, and also the trajectory, so even if the Panzer IV, for example, would miss that maximum on the retreat, it could still hit the T-34, even though it's technically out of range and in the back. And there's always a lot going on. Oh, Jesus, the Pioneers here forgotten, just moved up, trying to minesweep, run into the T-70 and in their counterparts, combat engineers. So pay with the life. Oh my god, there's like action everywhere. I was hoping for a little bit more partisan action, but it's not the best map for that in the first place. T-34 going for a deep dive. Maybe just wants to get rid of this bunker or do a distraction Carnifex. Just put a big threat on the lower corner of the map, so he has free range up here. I think the Panzer IV was revealed up on the left side. So rotates that down. Stuck E stays up top. Lucky he didn't get spotted that he was turned, because then he could have rushed that with the T-34s. Potentially, it would have been a very long haul and a very risky maneuver, so more likely than not they would not have. A little bit of a partisan ambush here. Nice try, but they did miss their shot. T-34 with a long range penetration, which is one of its main deficits compared to the Panzer IV. But so far, Oziligath managed to keep his corner of the map pretty locked down. It's only just the last couple minutes that Old Mate took the... also managed to pressure the left more favorably. Always had a good grip on the right side though. Ooh, T-70, the Vet 3, you do not want to lose that. Because on Vet 3, the wonderful thing about this beautiful little vehicle is they get increased sight range. Also reduced weapon scatter, which makes it even more of a killing machine. But basically, if you activate this recon mode, it deactivates the main gun, but it gives you tremendous amounts of line of sight, which is really good for your AT guns or late game your SE-85s. It's also one of my favorite changes to that little bugger. Well, it was never really a change, but I think they did increase the sight range on it dramatically at some point. It's been like that for a couple of years now, but just a little history lesson there. So it keeps its viability in the late game, where there's just a lot of scary bigger boys on the playing field. Generally you would also see like double packs from Austria, but in this game not, so it's a very interesting one. Oh, gets the Ura around the corner on the MG in the north, but the flamethrowers are roasting some conscripts in the back. Ooh, that Panzer IV is trying to rush over, keep the fuel connected. Very lucky he didn't get hit by the T-34 lurking around the corner. Nice attack ground moves across this building ruin, but he hasn't retargeted the attack ground, so it's still firing at the old position. T-70 is still just doing so much manpower bleed. Oh! Very, very close hit there. This Pioneer always getting away on the skin of a teeth for like at least the second time. That Stuck is either the worst ground targeter ever, Oh, it's also bounced. Hey, there we go. Finally. Is that... Are we getting seeing the counter ground target? Yes, we are, but no luck so far. Okay, T-34 has to pull back. Ooh, T-17 peril. Will the P-4 give chase, or will he think it too risky? There's a lot of mines here. Thinks better of it, but nice push-off. But yet the right side of the map just locked down. 243 to 269 in terms of VP, so relatively even game. So Oziligath having a very good early game compared to Old Mate, but now Old Mate is just punching back with a complete map domination and tries to get rid of his bunker, and he could walk in his infantry, which is also not something you see every game. So very, very interesting match we've got on our hands here. 25 minutes so far, and we're not even remotely close to any victory. Ooh, okay, notices his T-34 getting attacked. Partisans spring their good old ambush, but miss again. Ay, not a good track record for those boys. They should be like Vet 3 by now if they would have hit all their shots, because infantry doing damage to vehicles gives them a lot of experience. Okay, no attempt at the anti-tank grenade. Might actually have damaged it. It's a little bit attacked here. Low on health here. Might have relied on engine damage, but more likely not. T-34 trying to push in, but finds the Vet 2 Stug E. Ooh, the rate of fire to the veterancy. If you're not quick on that retreat. RNG, what are you talking about? Oh. Attack round? No. Just from the Zis gun. We have a Panzerwerfer. No, it's a Katyusha. I'm sorry. That was very embarrassing to mix those up. It's the just iconic sound of the Katyusha firing. But don't think it actually hit anything. 4 kills. Did it get in the Pioneer? I think the Panzer Grenadier went down. We have a Standard Grenadier now with a Veteran Squad Leader upgrade. Seems like he does want access to that Faust and the rifle grenades, especially over the hedges. Always very good opportunities if you know where your enemy is. Because much harder to react to that, you have to rely on the sound files. Ooh, nice AT gun barrage here from the Zis. Ooh, gets another model very on the edge of the scatter. So that should enable these conscripts to win that fight handily, unless the Panzer IV has anything to say about it. Just nukes 4 guys clumped up. That always feels like the Panzer IVs I play against. Every time you see I face them on the battlefield, no matter if I'm cover or not, I just get nuked straight up. 3 models dropped, and my Panzer IVs always just scratch the surface of anyone. 30-34, so we're going for the good old Soviet immersion experience. Just spam those T-34s until the sun sets. So very micro-intensive build here from Old Mate. Whereas Oziligath, for the moment, has at least a lot less to worry about. But it also puts him in a bit of a precarious situation, because he just doesn't have all these bodies that he needs to hold all his territory. We're gonna see how that plays out. Nice thing about the Partisan Commander, as you can see here, is also the radio intercept. It basically gives you a voice line every time your enemy builds something or takes up. So you always know what your enemy is up to, but therefore you don't really have that much choice in the late game. You have the spy network, which is also really nice to be seen that he uses. So I think it already wore off, but basically what that does, Old Mate would be able to see all of the enemy units through the fog of war as if they were sighted. You can't see them on the display here, but you have to go to the mini-map. Either look at the mini-map or the tactical map to see exactly where they are, but it's really good for your Katyushas to snipe out these AT guns just before like a big push. Ooh, and a Vet 3 Stug E not firing too well here. Just about manages to back away. Ooh, and another engine damage on the Panzer IV. This gun doing overtime. Ah, bounce. Will we see the ram? No, tries to back away, but against the Vet 3 Stug E, you will not get out. And I'm not entirely sure what happened down here. I don't think he lost anything, but he just forced them away on the bottom half of the map. He rebuilds the T-34, so is committed to his playstyle. No adjustments whatsoever. Good shot against the sandbags. Gets rid of the cover. Has to be rebuilt. Makes it much easier for this MG to stay safe and still get the suppression off while they are on the VPs. But triple cap for our old mate. 30 minutes in. 146 victory points left for the Wehrmacht. Now that is disappointing. That is disappointing. Just tries to go for the cheeky base artillery with a Katyusha, even though he hasn't forced anything off recently. Maybe he was hoping that the guys from the right were still lingering. But if you have access to your spy network, please use it before you use the Katyusha. So much potential wasted there. These poor partisans are just not having the best of times here. They did get the kill on the 250, but they haven't done much else. If they would have hit a couple more shots, they would actually be performing a lot better, I believe. Some new Panzer Grenadiers coming in. T-34s just plunking away at those stormtroopers. But that is a very, very interesting game. I always love to see something a bit out of the box. No meta slaves here. I'm not entirely sure how... I think Von Ivan is the only one who really loves the 250. Well, not the only one, but the most prominent player of this doctrine. So a bit of a meta thing going on here, but it's definitely not a heavy call in meta, so I applaud for that. Always love myself some good infantry play, backed up by medium vehicles. Stuk E still not repaired. One of the biggest assets he's got. Rifle nade just backs away out of that one. Good reactions time still here from Old Mate. Oh, and the line of sight here provided by the Pioneers. Even though while they're repairing, the Stuk E just keeps everything safe. Ooh, will the Katyusha go for the snipe? Oh, on those Pioneers, if they... When you repair something, you take increased damage. Here it comes. Oh, don't... No! 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 Come on! That was sorely disappointing. Sorely disappointing. A very big thing about this game is also, even if you can't see where your enemy is repairing, you can hear it. Okay, now they of course stopped repairing because the T-34 was pushing in. But you can hear, for example, vehicles through the fog of war and get a rough idea of where they are. But if you have access to this, you do not fire your Katyusha randomly in the enemy space. Everything else from Old Mate has been fantastic so far, but that Katyusha unit's usage just makes me sad. Oh no! T-70 gets thrown into the middle. Maybe a misclick, that's not gonna get out. Very, very valuable unit lost here. Because with that line of sight you can really plan your offensives. You know where the MGs aren't. You know when something's out of position. Still has access to the spy network, so I hope we see some usage of that soon. But if you go for the cheesy base artillery, you only do it once immediately after you've forced 1 or 2 squads to retreat. Or better said, 2 or more squads to retreat. Single squad is usually not worth it. Panzer IV trying to get rid of those partisans. Okay, they don't stick around to try to throw anything or get a shot off. Sad times there, but understandable because clumped up as they were, there was a high risk of just a one-shot wipe. Oh man, this match is all over the place. This is fantastic. Stuk E is going for the long-range plunks. Panzer IV protects the flank of the Stuk E. Very nice play. But now the Stuk E turned to the right T-34. But he does get it. And with the mobility advantage of the veterancy, he just deftly maneuvers out of the... Basically just dances around the T-34. Dances away like a wonderful man. Oh, nice smoke usage there. Stops them from being attacked. But the had an attack order on the T-34 and chased it all the way. Ooh, will he get the D-crew before... Oh no, this resets. Probably should have just... Yeah, he tried to merge there. Might have been a misclick. But should have tried to just keep plunking away at the Stuk E and merge as the models were dropping. I think that was his best chance. Because retreating was probably not an option. Unless you get lucky. Okay, another tip, which is easily not done when you're as microing as these guys is if you leave your... When you plant mines, like this one, always shift-click your engineers away from it and give them a move order. Because they will stand in a very suspicious circle around a very specific part of the map, which basically just gives away that there is a mine. If you forget to move them. But Panzer IV gets taken out, just circling in front of all this AT. Ooh, very, very heavy losses for Oziligath here. Needs to just fall back, bunker up again, but main gun crit here on the Panzer IV, which can happen, I believe, below 25% health. A crit shot, so absolutely helpless against the T-34 partisan combo here, but miraculously still alive. Ooh, and the mine, the Teller mine takes the T-34. Very nice bait here. And the partisans didn't go for the chase either. He was so sure he would get that, and I can't blame him for it, but did not expect that one to get out of here. Okay, now we're actually seeing the Katyusha firing at something that is certain something's there. So that's good to see. Does get 2 models of the Panzer Grand, so they probably need to scalp her before they get wiped. But he just wants... No, it's not worth it, mate. It's not worth it. Get out of there. Run, my boy. Run for the hills. Oh, makes it. Makes it home to mommy and daddy. Or at least to Obersturmbannführer Wilhelm. To send him in and back in again. So Wehrmacht boy is getting low on VPs. Has to consolidate. Just secure this line of approach. And push for the middle VP. And try to use the superior Stuck E on the long range and just get those snipes in. Rebuilds of Panzer IV. It's not the worst choice, but it will make it hard to deal with these double AT guns. Unless he's being daring and tries for a big flank on the Katyusha. Because for now these AT guns can just sit impunitively here at range and cover the approach here. Make it really safe for the T-34s to shoot anyone approaching here. T-34s I say, but he only has one left. Hasn't rebuilt it, so we might see an SE-85 or something similar. Okay, Panzer IV forces off the guy on the left side, but still double cap for the Russians. This gun tries to force these stormtroopers off, but out of desperation they stay in and get away with it. Ooh, this gun I say, the Maxim nearly goes down. Okay, pushes for the right side now, but ooh, momentarily manages to retain all victory points. See if he can get forced off in time by old mate. Nice thing about veterancy, I think it's 2? No, it's actually... Okay, it's actually already at veterancy 1 that stormtroopers will heal themselves out of combat as long as they don't drop any models. Well, they will also heal when they're dropping any models, but any model that is damaged will heal itself. Which is pretty handy, especially when you can set up again in cover, but very clumped up here. Panzer IV scouting out the right side. Ooh! The mine that is barely visible even if you knew it was there. Tries for the bait, but this gun forces it off together with T-34. Basically slap themselves around a bit. Both down to... Ooh, do we get the ground attack? We do, and it's good. It's very good. Ooh, does Oziligath notice it? Yes, he does. So, good, relatively good reaction times there. Ooh, there's still a little bit of S-Man field left, but I guess the remnants of that one will be not on the VP. What are the partisans shooting at? Sorry for that camera work there. Pretty bad. Gets the wipe on the vetted mortar, so that's a pretty big deal. Because that would have been a pretty good answer to all these support weapons we see here. But as I said, his only answer. That is not incorporated in flanking maneuvers. Also, a dangerous move is always right-clicking on these victory points. It's especially common with people who use the tech map. Or when you shift queue them up, and then you end up sitting there in no cover, clumped up on the VP and not in the cover position. So if you know you're just gonna cap 1 point, always choose the cover option if you're giving a move order. Ooh, very clumped up here, but nothing to punish it. Third Panzer IV, okay, that's some serious firepower. But he's struggling with keeping everything healthy. But nice return here, so... Well, the moment I say it, he gets forced off and... Ooh! We see... okay, it's an incendiary grenade. Pretty easily dodged. It's not the biggest of hassles against movable support weapons. Ooh, Panzer IV goes for the direct approach. Nothing to punish him there. So he might try to circle that AT gun. We're gonna keep an eye on that as well as possible. Hasn't gotten any lucky shots yet, but should start dropping the models. No, still full health. Well, full model count. And now the T-34 with marked target, which means it will take increased damage from fire. That Panzer IV is, I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. Goes down. There we go. Molotov cocktails to the garrison here. Panzer IV, everything needs repairs. This is looking very grim for our Wehrmacht boy. So Old Mate with some excellent counterplay here. And Oziligath with some rather reckless stunts. There was no follow-up whatsoever to that P4 diving there. Probably was hoping that getting rid of all these T-34s he would be running low on anti-tank options and tanks in general, but had the SC-85 out in time. Nice Katyusha on that MG. Oh, it wipes it. Not a great chance for Oziligath to get that thing out in time. And wipes the crew as well, so cannot be recruit. So this seems to be spelling the doom. The doom of Germany. Unless these Panzer Grenadiers make a miracle happen and just dodge all the things. Here comes the bundle nade. Directly into the cover. Was that a bundle nade? Must have been, but very, very low impact for that one. Okay. I'm sorry. Sometimes when my game lags, I use the middle mouse button to control the camera. And when it lags, it just shoots you off into the distance. So apologies for that. Try to get some better grip on camera work in the future. Stug E hasn't done much in the last couple of minutes. Actually 0 kills, but VET 3. So just dishing out the damage. Ooh, good ground attack by the SC-85. In fact, not a ground attack, just focused sight. No reaction at all there from Oziligath. Vetted Panzer IV goes down. Very, very nice pickup there by Old Mate. T-34 just sitting in happily in the back. Stolen MG42 suppressing the Grenadiers, trying to go for the cap. 25 points remaining. Stug 3 versus the SC-85. Should go back in, might get the kill, but it's... I'm not seeing it, I'm not seeing it. Oh, the Pioneers might wipe this. Yes, they do get the wipe on the conscripts, but it's... Ooh, in comes the ram, crew shock, which this rams generally, if they hit, they always disable your main gun. Actually, no, not always, I think. But it definitely gives you an engine crit. And I think a very high chance to get the main gun. Because otherwise it would be too strong. Keep an eye on that in the future. But Partisans finally doing something. 3 kills. Was it 3 vehicles? No, 2 vehicles, 1 infantry kill. Panzer IV going in deep. Trying to clear out all these support weapons, forcing them off, so... Wiped all the armor of the Soviets. But he should have just stayed and go get rid of that Zis gun. He has no other option. Partisans finally get VET 3. Get fire rate. What did they actually get? Accuracy and penetration. That's pretty cool on VET 2. And lethality increases when attacking from camouflage, so get the combat buff. So actually very unlucky that they missed so many Panzerschreck shots early in the game when they were at 1 and just on the cusp of VET 2. But just couldn't pull it off. Would have been a big boon very much earlier in the game. But still nice to see. 18 points remaining. Will he do it? Oh, those Grenadiers need to get out of there. He's focused on the middle, trying to go to his VPs. Good mines getting planted, but will they get blown up on their own mines? No reaction yet. Middle is secured by the good old partisan boys. Heroes of the Soviet Union, or Poland, or Romania. Maybe even France. Who knows? But they did manage to keep those points, and that will be it. Old mate, very, very nice game. Very, very nice game. I appreciated that. Both players playing really well. Oziligath, very strong early game. Some really good armor play in the mid game. Fell off in the late. Old mate with the classic Soviet strat of just overwhelm your enemy. And really nice to see us get some partisans, even though it was just one squad, trying their best. Oh, look at those beautiful, beautiful men. Ah, it's a beauty to see that. So really, really nice game. Nice back and forth in the mid game. Old mate got the better hand in the late. The only thing I can criticize about Old mate is the repeated base type when you have this commander with spy network on the base. Okay, maybe, okay. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he was trying to get rid of the med bunker. That is the only explanation I have, other than trying to get cheeky wipes for squads that are forgotten in base. Otherwise, excellent game. And thank everyone for watching. So now in this part, for my anti-spoiler stuff, as you will know from my intro, one of my big aims with this channel is talking about depression. So if you have any questions about depression, how it is to live with it, just in general, if you're curious, if you're struggling yourself, just if you want to share something, the current idea is that in the subsequent video I will take all the questions that are asked in the comment section of this video, and I will answer them after the game is played, as a way of getting the double dips on that for the anti-spoiler screen and for the depression talk. The depression talk. I need better names for my stuff. Yeah, that's the basic idea. If you want if you're not comfortable with your name being displayed, at the end of your comment you can use A for anonymous, so I will not mention your name when I include the question in the video. You can type a Y for getting an answer on a video for YouTube. Y for YouTube. Type a C for if you want me to just comment on it. And I think that's how I'm gonna handle it for now. If you like that format, please let me know. If you have better ideas, I'm all ears. Also, if you have critique or improvements for my cast, feel free to give advice. This has been my first one. I hope I did a decent enough job of it. I was trying my best here, and I guess once I get used to it, get a little bit of a hang of it. We should be fine. So thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you next time. Next time I'll also include the stat screen, but I've talked enough for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you around. Bye bye.